How would you say he hasn't been able to buy? Is buying really a skill?
No.
No, it's not. So it's about, let's say, money issues or time issues. So if we use the voluntary can with anything that is not skill related. So what was the verb can, the voluntary version?
Voi.
And you need last syllable.
Voittaa. Voi.
Voida is to win, but not actually to win, but I form minus n. To win. Voida, yes. But voida with the D is to win. No. To be able to the voluntary version, yes.
Yeah.
Voida. And what is you guys can?
Voitte.
Voitte. And he can?
Hän voi.
And they can?
He voivat.
He voivat. And they cannot?
He eivät voi.
Yes. He eivät voi. Yes. A with two dots, because a, of course, is neutral word and we need the dotted endings. Because the word a is A, B, C, D, E, I, and both of these are neutral vowels. How would be he hasn't been able to buy?
Hän ei ole ostanut.
So that would be he hasn't bought. But what is the version of voida which you have after have?
Voinut.
Voinut, yes. And why one n?
Because of the da.
Yes, da ending, and also if in the two form we have two vowels as the two last letters, we then have just one n. But what if we had an consonant as the last letter after we took off the last syllable? What would have we done then?
Double n.
No. If, for example, with the verb to be olla, then we have all. And what would have been done in this case if we had consonant as the last letter when we had taken off the last syllable?
Double the last.
Yes,
syllable.
Double the, not syllable, but
the last
consonant.
letter.
Yes.
Yeah, consonant.
Ollut, yes. So three possibilities. If we take off the last syllable and we have a consonant, we are going to add, not going to add, but going to double the consonant and add the rest, ollut. Or if we take off the last syllable and the last letter is a vowel, we are going to add two n's and the rest, like pelata, pelannut. Or if we have da ending, like to drink, juoda, we then take off the last syllable. What do we have of juoda if we take off the last syllable?
Jo.
And with the da ending, we only had one n, so how is it?
Juon. Juonut.
Juonut, yes, the version after have juonut. So how is he hasn't been able to buy?
Hän ei voi.
This is he cannot.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been able to.
Hän ei ole voinut.
To buy.
Ostanut.
You have it already.
Okay.
To buy.
Hän ei voi. Hän ei ole voinut ostaa.
Very good. As we have seen, we have kone, the machine, koneen, the certain state of machine. We added an extra e there to set it apart from the placeholder e, things like in verbs and such. To have the uncertain version of any such word that ends to an e, like kone or tietokone, we are not going to put a e there, because If we had put a extra E there. And then the A or A with 2 dots, we would have 3 vowels together. So kone, konea, konea. And we would have to play around to get around this issue. But let's imagine that we had konea. What would you have to do to separate the 3 vowels?
I put T.
Yes, so how would it be?
Konetta.
Konetta. As we are not adding an extra E there, we are putting 2 T's instead of 1 there. So how is it?
Konetta.
Konetta. To remember that the uncertain version is with 2 T's, you can think about as it functioned in the same way as the certain state, and so that you would first have konea, and then you would need to separate the vowels, koneta, and then you remember, oh, we didn't add an extra either, but instead 2 T's, so we are going to replace the E with another T, konetta. Very good. How would be he hasn't been able to buy a computer?
Hän ei voinut ostaa tietokonetta.
Yes, but how would be he hasn't been able to buy a computer?
Hän ei ole.
Yes.
Hän ei ole voinut ostaa tietokonetta.
Very good. What was the word good? It has the first syllable hy.
Hyvä.
Hyvä, yes. How would you say he hasn't been able to buy a good computer? Is this a skill or is it voluntary or so? He hasn't been able to buy a good computer.
It can be both, I guess.
Yeah, let's say if you're talking about money, then you would probably use the voluntary. But if you mean like you have been searching a lot of computers and you end up buying one that then ended up not being so good, then it would have been the skillful. Let's use the skillful version. What was can, the skillful version?
Osata.
Yes, osata. And how is I can? Osan. And how is I can't?
En osaa.
En osaa. With 2 A's there. En osaa. Yes, very good. How is he hasn't been able to buy a good computer? First, he hasn't been able to.
Hän ei ole osannut.
Osannut. Yes, why 2 N's?
Because we have in the osa double days. 2.
But if you take off
O
the
in days.
So if you have osata and you take off the last syllable, what do you have? Osa. And which one is the last letter, a consonant or vowel?
Vowel.
Vowel, yes. So we need the 2 consonants there unless it's da, or 2 vowels in the last letters in the 2 forms. So with olla, we have ol, ollut. We are adding 1 consonant to have 2 consonants. So 1 plus 1 is 2 consonants. But in this case, we have 0 consonants, so we're adding 2 N's and then the rest. So how is it? The version after have of the verb osata, skillful can. Osannut, yes. And how is he hasn't been able?
Hän ei voi osannut.
He hasn't.
Hän ei ole.
And the version of skillful can, which comes after have.
Osannut.
And to buy.
Ostaa.
A good computer.
Hyvä.
Yes, hyvä. There's two A's with two dots.
Tietokonetta.
Hyvää tietokonetta. Very good. Hyvä in the uncertain state. Hyvä, hyvää. And tietokone, tietokonetta. Hän ei ole osannut ostaa hyvää tietokonetta. Very good.